Tonight on the Worldview Report, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is planning to drop CDC recommendations for routine COVID-19 vaccines for pregnant women, teens, and children. The FBI, they foiled an Islamic terrorist attack on a U.S. Army base in Michigan. The Austin, Texas Police Department arrested one of four suspects this week for the murder of InfoWars reporter Jamie White. That was outside his Texas home that he was murdered on March 9th. President Trump rounds out his Middle East tour with another trillion-dollar trade deal, this time with Qatar. If you thought the Muslims were just making a play for Texas, think again. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, a Democrat and Jewish, just announced a $5 million grant funded by taxpayers to the Al-Aqsa Islamic Society of Philadelphia in order to expand its K-12 Muslim school. And a long-awaited report confirms what we already knew. NATO is full of corruption. All these stories and more as the Worldview Report begins right now.
This is Worldview Report with host Brennan House. Whether it is news from the nation's capital or your state capital, from the classroom to the boardroom, from national security to national and local news that impacts you and your family, Worldview Report is your trusted source for vital and uncensored news. And now, here is Brennan House.
Good evening and welcome to the Worldview Report. Leading off tonight, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is planning to drop CDC recommendations for routine COVID-19 vaccines for pregnant women, teens, and children. That's what the Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday, citing people that are familiar with the matter. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is part of the HHS, they recommend that individuals aged 6 months and older should be given an updated COVID-19 vaccine, regardless of previous inoculations for the disease. It was not clear if the department is planning to remove the recommendation entirely for those groups or just suggest that patients talk with their doctors about risk and benefits. That's what the report said. As of April 26, about 14% of pregnant women and 13% of children had received the updated COVID vaccine. That's according to the CDC. In the U.S., 3 COVID shots have been authorized for emergency use, even though there's no emergency and never has been when it comes to COVID and children. The 3 injections include an mRNA gene-based shot from Mrna and Pfizer, along with Novavax's protein-based shot. HHS, well, of course, it's led by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he is, as we know, a longtime critic of mass vaccination campaigns. He is largely responsible for blowing the whistle on the fact that no childhood vaccines have ever been subjected to full-blown clinical trials with randomized placebos and other mainstays of scientific procedures. U.S. Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Mrna had also raised concerns about a number of public health efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic and opposed vaccine mandates for the general public. Novavax is now trying to resolve issues with the FDA for its vaccine shot after the health regulator missed its April 1st target to approve the shot. In addition to the CDC recommendation changes, the FDA is planning to roll out a new framework for vaccine approvals next week. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. It should be pointed out that there are only recommendations by the CDC, and blue states like California, New York, and Washington have doubled down on mandating COVID shots for school children. So if you live in any of those states and have young children in public schools or private schools, well, you might want to be aware. And there's also been another turn of events this week that indicate the toxic mRNA jabs could soon be banned for all Americans, not just taken off the list of recommended shots for kids, teens, and pregnant mothers. British cardiologist and author Dr. Aseem Malhotra, he's the newly appointed chief medical advisor to the Make America Healthy Again initiative. He says there is overwhelming evidence to ban the COVID-19 mRNA shots. Dr. Malhotra is a former UK government and longtime ally of Make America Healthy Again leaders like HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's campaigned for taxes on sugary drinks. He's worked to lower the amount of Brits that take statins unnecessarily. And he's worked with government leaders to remove ultra-processed foods from hospitals and schools. That's according to the Daily Mail. Although Malhotra is not formally employed by the federal government, he will serve as a leading voice of the MAHA movement and work closely with grassroots groups to advance its policy and agenda. In a Wednesday post to X, the British best-selling author left no question where he stands on the COVID jabs. He wrote, quote, "It's what you've been waiting for. There is overwhelming evidence to call for a moratorium on the mRNA COVID jabs and help the vaccine injured. Let it rip," end quote. In other news, 2 illegal aliens were arrested and assigned for deportation on Tuesday in Waltham, Massachusetts. A man in the front passenger seat of a van refused to get out of the car, so ICE agents, they broke the window and they pulled him out. Bystanders shouted at ICE and demanded to see a warrant. ICE agents in black face masks, they ignored them. Watch this.
I'm right where I need to be. Why are you pulling these people over?
Show me you're here legally, and I'll leave you alone. Where is it? You have it? Yes, I do. No.
Well,
Can I see how you're here legally? Yes
can
or
I
no?
see? Can I see your warrant, please?
Do you guys have a warrant?
Do you have a warrant for arresting this man?
They've obviously not answered the question because they don't have a.
Are you here legally or illegally?
Don't talk to him. Don't answer. Don't open the door.
No le contestes nada y quédate callado.
Tú
no
tienes
tienes
el
por qué.
derecho de quedarte callado.
I'm going to take you out, and you're going to come to our office either way. So how would you like
Tú
to
tienes el derecho de quedarte callado.
If he could do that, he would have done it.
Yes, can you start getting this way? Which one's it going to be, Kevin? I'm giving you the opportunity. I don't want to smash the window, and I don't want to drag you out. Just come out of the car. If you're legally, I'll go away. Which one's it going to be? I'm giving you the opportunity to exit the vehicle. When I smash this window, you're going to get dragged out. I don't think you want that. Right? So what are you going to do?
He's going to stay right where he is.
Kevin, you're here illegally. I already know that. That's all I need to establish.
I need to see a warrant. You have masked men taking people, abducting people without a warrant, without IDs.
¿Cómo te llamas para buscarte? Mira, allá no firmes nada. ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿A quién llamo?
No tengo un familiar, no que solo conozco a la familia entera.
Okay. No firmes nada y les voy a decir que traten de conseguirte un abogado. ¿Ves? And I hope you guys go every night to sleep and see your kids and know that you're doing the right thing. You see your wife, you see your kids, you're separating families. This is hard-working people. They're not criminals because I know them. I know them, and I hope when you die, because every is gonna die, and I hope when you die, you know you did the right thing. Are you seeing like you don't believe in God?
Tom Homan's crew, they're not messing around, that's for sure. The FBI reportedly foiled a terrorist attack on a U.S. Army base in Michigan. That's according to the director of the FBI, Kash Patel. FBI Director Kash confirmed that the arrest was made of an Ammar Mohammed Said. He's a former Michigan Army National Guard, and he's accused of plotting a mass shooting at U.S. Army's Tank Automotive and Armaments Command facility. This was in a lengthy post on Thursday that detailed this would-be terrorist attack. The plot was foiled by several undercover law enforcement officers who obtained information about the alleged plans. That's what Patel revealed. Patel wrote Thursday in the post to X, quote, "New from your FBI. I can now confirm reports that our FBI teams and partners foiled an attempted ISIS attack on one of our U.S. military bases in Warren, Michigan. The individual, Ammar Abdul-Majid Mohammed Said, plotted a mass shooting at the U.S. Army's Tank, Automotive, and Armaments Command facility before multiple undercover law enforcement officers obtained information on his plans," end quote. He noted that Said will face charges of attempting to provide materials to a foreign terrorist organization and distributing information related to a destructive device, as he has, thanked intelligence teams and agents for acting quickly to shut down the plot. They saved lives. That's what the FBI director wrote. And then he said, quote, "Well done to all executing the mission," end quote. Said is from Melvindale, Michigan, and was reportedly arrested on Wednesday. The 19-year-old allegedly told two undercover law enforcement officers of a plan that he had devised to conduct the mass shooting. In April of 2025, the officers indicated that they intended to carry out Said's plan at the direction of ISIS, and in response, Said allegedly provided them with material assistance and an attack plan. He provided armor-piercing ammunition and magazines for the attack and flew his drone over Tecom to conduct operational reconnaissance. That's what a press release from the Department of Justice said. He also trained the undercover employees on firearms and the construction of Molotov cocktails for use during the attack, and then planned numerous details of the attack, including how to enter the Tecom and which building to target. We'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now, and we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview. Welcome back from the break. Thank you for being with us here tonight and every night, and for remembering that we are brought to you by you. You make the program possible. It takes a team of about 7 of us, 15 man-hours a day to put it all together. So if you appreciate not only this broadcast, but all the other free programs we push out, we need your support now more than ever. Remember, we're expanding with a new History Channel we're working on. Next week, we'll release our first historical documentary from our trip to Washington, D.C., with more to come. We have so many things we filmed, and we're looking forward to bringing you this new addition to our network, a History Channel. So again, if you appreciate all we're doing as we push out the truth and history, news, and information through the lens of a Christian worldview, and we need your support, please consider going now and making a contribution, would you? Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. We let many networks pick up the broadcast absolutely free of charge. We don't charge them. We let different groups pick it up. We push it out to people all over the world for free. Yet, we do have a lot of cost associated with the production of the program, not to mention thousands of dollars in bandwidth bills that we have to pay because so many people are watching it for free. So it's free to the public, but not free for us. We have lots of bills associated with this free broadcast. So thank you for helping our foundation help us push out Christian worldview programming. Again, thank you for your support now at worldviewfoundation.com. Thank you to those that are already supporting us. But if you're not, and you can afford to do so, including setting up an automatic monthly contribution, would you consider doing that at worldviewfoundation.com? You will also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. Worldviewfoundation.com. The Austin Police Department arrested one of 4 suspects this week for the murder of InfoWars reporter Jamie White. He was murdered outside his Texas home on March 9th. Eloy Adrian Camarello, 17, has confessed to police that White, a 36-year-old journalist who was shot during an attempted vehicle, was being burglarized by him and 3 of his friends. Camarello and his friends were seen approaching the Kia vehicles because they are notoriously, apparently, easy to steal. The killers, they had broken a window and entered White's Kia Soul to, quote, go for a joyride, end quote. That's according to Camarello. When he approached them to try and stop the theft, as he confronted the group, he was shot in the neck. KXAN reports, quote, overall, the suspects allegedly also stole a black and silver Kia Soul from March 9th through March 11th. Witnesses told police that the black Kia Soul was seen pulling up to the green Kia Soul before the deadly shooting happened, end quote. And then the report added that surveillance footage at the complex captured the black Kia Soul leaving the complex northbound on Douglas Street. It was later found abandoned in the area of Sarah Drive in East Austin. That's according to the affidavit. Zero Hedge reports that after several massive announcements and deals that came out during Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia and Qatar, developments during the last leg of the president's Gulf tour in the United Arab Emirates actually seem a bit more humdrum by comparison. But the visuals, well, they spare no expense. The official welcome, ceremonies, events, well, they've been very entertaining to say the least. Don't ask me to explain this bizarre cultural ritual going on as part of the welcome Matt laid out for President Trump, but here it is. Watch. President Trump announced on Thursday a $1.4 million investment in artificial intelligence and other tech sectors from the Emirates. Of course, this is on top of the $600 billion in economic exchange with Saudi Arabia for AI data centers in the U.S. and Saudi defense contractors, and another $1.2 trillion from Qatar. The White House has previewed this long-in-the-works deal as related to artificial intelligence infrastructure, semiconductors, energy, and manufacturing. Further, Emeritus Global Aluminum will, quote, invest in the first new aluminum smelter in the United States in 35 years, which would nearly double U.S. domestic aluminum production, end quote. Alex Newman at the Liberty Sentinel reports that Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, a Democrat, just announced a $5 million grant funded by taxpayers to the Alaska Islamic Society of Philadelphia. What? That's right. And what are they going to do with it? Well, apparently expand their K-12 Muslim school right there in the heart of a growing Muslim enclave. It is just the latest example of taxpayers being forced to fund so-called education by Islamic and even communist Chinese-linked organizations, all under various guises. The massive grant to Islamic so-called education in Philadelphia, it's aimed at helping the Muslim group expand its school from 300 students to, wait for it, 3,000. That's according to the officials. The money will be used to build a dozen new classrooms, a gym, and much more. It's the largest state grant ever given to a Muslim organization. That's what Governor Shapiro's office said. The $5 million grant, which came from the Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program, is in addition to various other taxpayer-funded subsidies already enjoyed by the school. These include scholarships and financial aid facilitated by programs such as the state's Educational Improvement Tax Credit Program. Students are not required to pay tuition at the Islamic school. And the chairman, Asif Hussein, with the Alaska Islamic Society, explained that the group's Islamic school currently has a large waiting list. Apparently, with mass tax-funded immigration from Africa and the Middle East, there's been a rapid growth of the so-called community in recent years. And so, with taxpayer money, this Alaska Islamic Academy will become a so-called academic center of excellence for those Muslim students going forward. Quote, the idea would be to have a primary, secondary, and high school all in one building, and for students who are enrolled in primary education to stay for graduation. And this become a very important part of their development and their future endeavors, end quote. That's what Chairman Hussein was quoted as saying in the local media, adding that they expect thousands of students in the years to come. The Islamic school, well, it was established almost 30 years ago, and it teaches Islamic studies, Arabic languages, and, of course, Quran classes, along with other standard academic subjects. The school's mission, according to the website, is to, quote, provide students with a safe, nurturing, and uplifting Islamic environment that will help them achieve academic excellence, end quote. Alaska Islamic Society was founded by Arab immigrants in the late 1980s as a worship center. And it now includes everything from the school to a grocery store and now tax-subsidized affordable housing for Muslims. The name Alaska, of course, is a reference to the Islamic compound built on the old Jewish temple, the Temple Mount, in Jerusalem. So here's what I keep asking. National Public Radio, National Public Television, all of these so-called journalistic organizations out of D.C. got millions and millions of dollars from the federal government through USAID. These mosques promoting their worldview gets all kinds of government money, taxpayer money. Where is the taxpayer money for Worldview 2? There is none. Why? Because we actually promote a Christian worldview. Not that we want the taxpayer money. But the point I'm making is, isn't it interesting that you and I work like dogs to pay taxes at the state and federal level, only have it to be given out to the communists, the globalists, the Marxists, and the Islamists who propagandize people for our destruction? Wow. Well, now it's time for our nightly Worldview Report commentary. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said Thursday that the Western Military Alliance's procurement agency is cooperating with police investigating corruption and fraud allegations involving the purchase of military equipment. The NATO Support and Procurement Agency helps the 32 member states of the world's biggest military alliance and their partners to buy defense equipment and other, security systems. NATO, as an organization, does not own any weapons. The European Union's criminal justice agency, known as Eurojust, said Thursday it had provided support for a cross-border investigation into alleged corruption involving current and former NSPA employees. The investigation stretches to Spain and Luxembourg, where the NSPA is based. Rudd said that NATO, the agency, is, quote, working very closely with all the relevant authorities. And obviously, we will continue doing that. We want to get to the root of this, end quote. Belgian prosecutors said on Wednesday that 2 suspects in the western region of Flanders have been taken in for questioning over the allegations. One was arrested, the other released. No names or details about them were provided. They said the probe is focusing on possible irregularities in the awarding of contracts to defense companies to buy military equipment like ammunition and drones, which have been a decisive factor in Russia's war on Ukraine. The prosecutors suspect agency employees might have given confidential information to the companies to help them win contracts, and that money may have been laundered through consultancy groups or firms that are set up for that purpose. In a related case, Dutch prosecutors announced earlier in the week that they had arrested a 58-year-old man from Rotterdam on corruption charges. The prosecution service did not release his name in line with their privacy rules, but they did say he was a former Dutch Defense Ministry civil servant who was, quote, responsible for international purchase contracts, end quote. In a statement, prosecutors said the man is, quote, suspected of having taken bribes in 2023 regarding the awarding of purchase contracts, together with others, partly outside the Netherlands, end quote. The 2 other suspects, who were not civil servants, were also arrested, according to the statement. Again, no names were given. This should come as a surprise to absolutely no one. The NATO procurement process, well, it has been, well, rotten to the core for decades. And the corruption likely rises all the way to the top. And until we see some top officials prosecuted, this investigation is going to be nothing more, I think, than a limited hangout where a small fraction of the dirty deals get exposed, with relatively low-level players taking the fall as scapegoats for the more powerful ones up top. What do you think? That does it for this edition of the Worldview Report. As always, thank you for tuning in and for your support. To keep it going, it takes a team of 7 of us, about 15 man-hours a day, to put it all together at worldviewtube.com and on demand later at worldviewtube.com. Thank you for your support at worldviewfoundation.com. Worldviewfoundation.com. And as I always say, you'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. Or you can use our phone number there on the website. Text Melissa or leave her a voicemail. She'll get back to you so you can make a contribution over the phone. All right? Thank you for that. Well, till next time, I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care.